Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10, and the header reads, "A new heaven and a new earth. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise." And in the scriptures, heaven and hell can be symbolic for a condition. Heavens when you're in rulership, and hell, when you're in captivity, which these Edomites, or so-called white people as they're known today, are living in the last seconds of their heavens, while the children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today, are living in the last seconds of their hell, the final captivity under the heathen nations, before there's a role reversal, before the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Yasharallah, or the kingdom of Israel is established, where the nation of Israel, beginning with the elect, are going to be in their heavens, while you heathens are going to be in your hell for the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven in hardcore bondage and slavery, building it up. And the nation that is going to receive it the worst are you Edomites. But this is going to get kicked off when, as it's about to say, "And the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up." And that's talking about nuclear missiles being shot to the ends of the earth during World War III, which is going to, make these current heavens of the heathens, chiefly the Edomites, pass away with that great noise and begin to usher in the heavens of the children of Israel. And those nuclear missiles are definitely going to burn up the works, in the earth with that fervent heat. Verse 11, "Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness," speaking to the elect of the nation of Israel right now, who are diligently doing whatever they can to stay in the good graces of their power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi. What spirit should you be in, seeing that all these end times prophecies are coming to their fulfillment, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High? If you're in the right spirit, you should be hastening for World War III and these nukes to be fired, because that is what's going to usher in our kingdom, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And it's getting to the point to where every other day now in the news, not just the alternative news, but the mainstream news that you're hearing of talks of what? World War III and the use of nuclear weapons, and the possible results of nuclear strikes on different countries and cities throughout the planet, especially in the United States of America. And that's all taking place because we truly are living in these times where these prophecies will come to their fulfillment. And I opened up the video with these verses to first preface an article on irishstar.com titled "Frightening Map Shows Damage Nuclear Bomb Would Wreak on New York If Detonated." And yet another article coming out talking about the possibility of nuclear missiles being fired and the fallout from it, which through biblical prophecy, we know that it is an inevitability. And the United States of America, which in the scriptures is known as Babylon the Great, is going to be the main target for these nuclear missiles during World War III when they're fired. The frightening interactive maps were produced by nuclearsecrecy.com, and this article was published on March 13th of 2024, the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. Large tracts of New York City would be destroyed in the hypothetical scenario that a nuclear bomb was detonated within the metropolitan area, according to this frightening map produced by nuclearsecrecy.com. But what did it say back in 2 Peter's? We should be looking for and hastening unto the coming of these things. These things are frightening to the heathens. As it says in Jeremiah chapter 10, be not thou dismayed at the signs of heaven, like the heathens are. We know that while these are going to be terrible times, hey, if we endure and are of that elect number, this is going to be, our salvation. Well, Yahushua coming to save us is going to be our salvation, but what? This is going to be the end of this final captivity of ours under the heathens, chiefly the Edomites, and the ushering in of our kingdom. Alex Weatherstein, who is a nuclear historian at Stevens Institute of Technology, helped to create the maps that visualize the doomsday scenario of nuclear weapons being detonated in major cities across the globe. Should a weapon of similar proportions to the Fat Man, the bomb dropped on Nagasaki by the United States on August 9th, 1945, be detonated in New York, the damage, as the map shows, would be extreme. And, they're lowballing it. The nuclear weapons they have now, which, I believe are hydrogen, hydrogen bombs, which are more powerful than, those original atomic bombs, will make Fat Man and Little Boy look like a day on Sesame Street compared to the damage that they can cause. The weapon had a yield of 20 kilotons. According to Wallerstein's expert modeling, 287,660 people would die if such a horrendous incident came to pass. Here's a little infographic. The inner ring shows the fireball radius. The red ring shows the heavy blast damage radius. And the green ring shows the radiation radius. The gray rings show the moderate blast damage radius, while the orange ring shows the hypothetical spread of the thermal radiation radius. Meanwhile, there would be 515,160 injuries, and the light blast damage radius would spread as far as Jersey City. And they're making it sound like, there would be survivors, but we'll get to that later in the scriptures. Hey, everybody in the United States of America that is not of that elect number of the nation of Israel, you're just going to be fuel for the fire. It's wishful thinking to think that there's going to be, any survivors or, people going into their bunkers or hideout shelters and then coming back to the surface after the dust settles. That's only for these other nations that are outside of America. I'm going to skip around a little bit. The heavy blast damage radius would spread for a half a mile and either severely damage or completely demolish concrete buildings. Hey, the elements and the works in the earth getting burned up by that fervent heat. This magnitude of a blast, which would have close to 100% fatality rate, would mostly be focused on the Little Italy area, according to the map. The radiation radius caused by the blast would spread for over 2 miles from the point of detonation. It would be likely fatal to most definitely fatal to all residents of the area, all residents of the United States of America, which would include Greenwich Village and Hudson Square, and 15% of survivors would likely perish within 1 month from the cancer brought upon by the radiation levels. And hey, if you're in America, you won't have to worry about getting, radiation poisoning. This is for people outside of Babylon. But hey, the scriptures speak of what? Men dying of radiation poisoning. This is Revelation chapter 8, verses 10 to 11. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, talking about those nuclear missiles. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of the waters. And the name of the star is called wormwood. And when you go into what wormwood means, it means, bitter. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. A lot of the survivors, of these nuclear strikes dying later off from radiation poisoning. The thermal radiation radius would spread for almost 6 miles. With this, there is 100% certainty of third-degree burns. This reaction to radiation is often painless. However, because pain nerves are destroyed in the process, this spread of radiation is shown to stretch as far as the meatpacking district. And again, outside of Babylon, people can worry about third-degree burns. Inside of Babylon, you won't have to worry about living with third-degree burns or radiation sickness because you're going to be wiped off the face of the earth. But the scriptures speak also of people getting burned up and, being tormented in their flesh by the nuclear destruction. This is Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. So this is talking about all you heathens, chiefly you Edomites, especially in America, that have fought against Jerusalem, the nation of Israel. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. People getting burnt to a crisp by those nuclear missiles. Hey, getting that Sarah Connor treatment from Terminator 2, which is a perfect visualization of this verse. When she had that dream of that nuclear destruction, she was hanging on to that chain link fence while her skin started to catch, third-degree burns. And then eventually her skin, her eyeballs, her tongue was literally blown off of her skeleton. Luckily, these scenarios are only hypothetical, and the chances of any such weapons being dropped remain remote. And hey, this is somebody that errs not knowing the scriptures, as a lot of you people err not knowing the scriptures, thinking that voting, that cooler heads are going to prevail, or any man-made force is going to stop these nuclear missiles, World War III, from taking place. It is all a part of biblical prophecy, and as it says in Isaiah 55, verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, such as that great fire melting the elements and burning up the works with that fervent heat. This is Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, referring to World War I, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. World War II, which is past, and World War III, which is quickly coming upon us. And with the way things are looking, we already in the beginning stages of World War III, and it will go nuclear. And the 2 main combatants is going to be the United States of America and Russia, which Russia is going to be the nation that's going to lead these other nations in shooting their nuclear missiles onto the U.S. And just the other day, you had the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, issue another threat of nuclear war, as we're about to see in this clip on worldstar.com from a clip from Global News titled, Putin warns the U.S. that Russia is ready for the nuclear war. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says his country is ready to use nuclear weapons if its sovereignty or independence is threatened. Putin says that Russia boasts a more modern nuclear arsenal than anyone else, and that the West is working on modernizing its own. But he said this doesn't mean the world is heading for nuclear war, and suggested that U.S. President Joe Biden's experience ensures that he understands the potential dangers of escalation. His comments come just days ahead of a presidential election that will see him re-elected for the 5th time to begin another 6-year term.
How can you be ready for it? Are we really ready for nuclear war?
С военно-технической точки зрения.
From the technical point of view, of course, we are ready.
Они у нас постоянно.
They, missiles, are constantly combat ready.
находится в состоянии боевой готовности. Это первое. А второе,
This is firstly. Secondly,
и
and
это
this is
тоже
accepted by everybody,
общепризнанная вещь, наша триада
our nuclear triad is more modern than any other triad.
она является более современной, чем любая
Actually, only us and the
другая
Americans
триада.
have a
Это триада
triad.
только вот у нас, да, американцы, на самом деле. И мы здесь
And ours is much more advanced than them, all through the will of Yahweh Bahasham Yahabushai, to use Russia as that nation to lead that strike against the
продвинулись
U.S.
гораздо больше. У нас она более современная. И
Our triad and the whole nuclear element is more
вся
modern.
ядерная составляющая. В целом по носителям и по
In general, if we talk about the carriers and number of
зарядам
warheads,
у нас примерный паритет, но у нас
we are more or less equal, but
более
ours
современная. Но
are
это
more
знают
modern.
все. Специалисты все знают. Но
Everybody knows this. All experts know this. And hey, first and foremost, Yahweh Bahasham Yahabushai knows this because they've ordained this to be the case. Let's say with that clip. But now I'm going to close it out in Jeremiah chapter 50. I'm going to start at verse 9 and jump around. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the virgin daughter of Babylon, the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the north country, Russia, because what's north of the U.S., Canada, that Arctic Ocean region, and then Russia, which Russia has been remilitarizing that Arctic Ocean region with nuclear capable assets. And it's a well-known fact that Russia shooting missiles from itself across the north, across that Arctic Ocean region to reach the U.S. would be the shortest trajectory time for those missiles to reach the U.S. And that assembly of great nations are not just Russia's allies like China, Iran, or North Korea, but America's own allies, which at some point during World War III are going to turn against her and ally themselves with Russia, these European and NATO nations. And it's clear to see that the groundwork is being set for America's European allies to turn against her. Who's feeling the blowback economically and militarily from this war in Ukraine? These European nations on the borders with Russia. Revelation chapter 17, verse 16, and the 10 horns, speaking of the EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, NATO, these shall hate the whore, Babylon the Great, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, that nuclear fire. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And those arrows are symbolic for those nuclear missiles, because when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they weren't going to say a Satan II or a hypersonic, missile. They had to describe it with what they knew during their times, ancient weapons of war. And funnily enough, you've got, I believe over in the state of Israel, it's either a missile itself or, a missile, program called Arrow 1, Arrow 2, and Arrow 3. And in the U.S., in the event that the U.S. military loses track of one of its nuclear assets, they call it Broken Arrow. But now I'm going to jump down to verse 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north, Russia, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth, that assembly of great nations unto Russia, Russia's own allies and America's allies, which are going to turn against her. They shall hold the bow and the lance, the bow being parabolic for those silos and other launch platforms that those nuclear arrows are going to be fired from. They are cruel and will not shew mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon, that virgin daughter, mystery Babylon, the United States of America. And when you go to Psalms 137, about verses 7 to 9, you will see that these Edomites are synonymous with the daughter of Babylon. But now I'm going to jump up to verse 40, because remember in that first article we read, they were talking about, survivors from a nuclear detonation in New York City in the U.S., sustaining heavy injuries. Well, let's see what the scriptures say about survivors in the U.S. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh. And besides being known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, America is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8, which is very easy to see. This is the number one nation on the planet that pushes the alphabet lifestyle. So shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was hit with fire and brimstone from the sky and is uninhabitable unto this day. And this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah is going to get hit with that modern fire and brimstone, those nuclear missiles. And as it says, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. So much for any survivors in America after that nuclear strike. Verse 39, therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Man, woman, or child will never set foot on the former United States of America ever again, after it's turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland, where after a long time, only desert creatures will dwell here. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Hey, as we can clearly see, we are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as it said back in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 11 to 12, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High? We should be hastening for these things to take place, because we know that the next step is the kingdom of heaven, our heavens. So as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharala.